Florida State University, they offer financial literacy as an elective. And apparently it was the most popular elective taken in the school.
The streets is talking, y'all.
Like, people are interested and they want to know. You know, for me, I'm like, this is essential. Like, this should be a requisite for medical schools and residency programs. It's one thing to go into medicine for the money, but nobody goes into medicine to be broke.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Docs Outside the Box. I am your host, Dr. Nii, joined by
Dr. Renee. Oh!
So the way how I have my screen, I think you're above me or you're to the left of me. I can't recall. I don't know how it works because sometimes it's weird. Like, I have you on one side of my screen and you're like squeezed in, and I can see myself. So how do you see it? Am I to your left or to your right?
You're above.
I'm above you. Okay.
It's above me now. You're above me now.
Yeah, man. So a lot of stuff going on. Folks, I drove into work today or yesterday with the Tesla. Ended up having to do a workout at the supercharger. You don't know anything about that.
What?
I didn't let you know about that.
Working out at the supercharger.
I had to do Insanity 30 at the side of the car while charging because it was like 11. It was like 11:30, and the next stop I would make was actually at my destination, which would put me after 12.
Clear got you shook with these atomic habits, huh?
It works. I'm telling y'all, this atomic habits works. You know, the big key things are never to go 2 days in a row without doing whatever your habit is because you're starting a new habit. So if I had gone past midnight, that would have been 2 days in a row of not working out, and I just didn't want to start off on a bad foot. So
okay, start off on the good foot.
Chris or Alfred, put that video in right now. I'm gonna link that. I actually recorded myself doing some workouts and need jeans and a t-shirt trying to do some workouts. I put the camera in the Tesla, and then you can see it coming out. It's gonna be dope. You guys should check it out. Check it out. Hook it up. So, but listen, let's talk. Let's catch up. Let's talk to people about what we've been doing.
We've been doing
there's been a lot of stuff going on. And as you've noticed, we've only put out like 3 or 4 episodes so far in October, mainly because we traveling, we busy. And between juggling what I do in the hospital, what you do in the hospital, you running Docs Outside the Box, you running a whole bunch of different things. We have been traveling between San Diego and Chicago and all those different things. So
yeah, getting ready to go to Boston.
Yeah, we're going to Boston for the osteopathic annual, medical education conference. But let's tell them about this Locum Story video series that we are working with. Jump in there, let them know what we doing, because we more than just a podcast, y'all. We about to be some video, media, content creation moguls.
We've been doing a lot of stuff lately. One of the bigger projects that we've been working on is the Locum Story project, where basically I'm looking for a job, a new locums job. And, we decided to chronicle it, document it, and Locum Story, partnered up with us to be able to do that. They fell for it. It didn't fall for it. But yeah, no, that was really fun. We have, this camera crew, come in and just, start filming us. The kids are in this one. And, we don't be showing our kids' face on social media for nothing, yo. Nothing. We don't really put them on social media like that. Every now and then we get our kids on social media, but the kids are in this one very briefly, not a whole lot, but they are in this one. And yeah, it's kind of different. It's not like your typical podcast and we're just sitting there talking. We're literally just kind of having life, and talking about, what it's like for me to look for a job, all the different, I guess, stops that I have to take, if you will, in the process of looking for a job. So we used locumstory.com, went to their website, went to their affiliates, and, had some conversations and interviews with their affiliates. And it was great. Yeah, how many days of filming did we do?
I think we did a total of about 3 to 5 days.
I would say 5, maybe 6, 5 or 6. Yeah.
I just want people to know that, the reason why we're doing a video series is that, what we do here on the podcast, the audio standpoint, as well as what you're seeing on YouTube, that's great. But I think what we're realizing is that our entire life you can make content from, right? Because people will write us and ask us questions about a whole bunch of different things. How do we do this? How do we do that? And invariably we talk about this in our lives, whether at the kitchen table, whether we're arguing, someplace else, or we're driving, we're talking about these things. So we just said, hey, why don't we create a video series of what it's like for you to work as an independent contractor using locumstory.com. So it's dope. Yeah. I'm really excited about that. So
yeah, we're going to be dripping out some of the scenes soon. Came through dripping, drip, drip. Came through dripping, drip, drip. Hey. So we're going to be dripping out some scenes soon. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun, very informative, but entertaining. Is that the word I'm looking for? Edutainment. For everybody who's watching and listening. So yeah, we're looking really forward to it. But that's one of the biggest projects that we've been working on. We got a couple of other big projects.
Well, the next thing that I definitely want to get into that I definitely don't want to. Anyway, let's just get into it. So real estate. Listen, y'all. So 2 years ago, we purchased a 6-property unit in Pennsylvania. I'm not happy with how it's going. It's driving me nuts. But it's going, I'd say 60% the way in which we want it to go. There's some growing pains.
That's not a big percentage.
To me, I just want to whoop our tenant's ass. I want to whoop my property manager ass. There's just so much stuff that's going on that's just driving me nuts. And it's just, it's working out. It's working out, but I'm frustrated.
It's a process.
I'm saying this not to turn off so many different people, but it takes work, yo. So when people say, yeah, man, you get a real estate and it's just rinse, wash, and repeat, and this stuff is work. All right. It's just like a marriage. This is work. All right. And I know everybody sees me and you and they're like, oh, that relationship goals and all these different things. You guys are the perfect family. And Dr. Nii, you are the perfect husband and everything.
I don't think anybody
you're picking up Renee, you're picking up Dr. Renee, and you're dragging her into this great relationship. But this stuff is work. A lot of people don't know, trying to get this real estate property going is a lot of work. And
I'm confused.
We recently just had Ronnie Shalev on, and she was talking about syndications.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was talking about syndications, and basically, long story short, is what's a syndication? A syndication is how do you make sure that you're not worried about toilets? How to make sure you're not worried about tenants, and how to make sure you're not worried about termites, but still own in some form or fashion real estate property without having to deal with all of those different things. That basically is what a syndication is. So a syndication is when you get a whole bunch of investors, they get together, they invest, they buy a property, but there's like one or two people who are actually managing the day-to-day operations. And then as a result, the investors, they get like distributions from the rents, they get distributions from the profits and so forth. But basically, I don't want to say blind investors, but it's kind of similar to that. Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you did a few episodes with Ronnie Shalev. But the last couple ones, I think last week you put out 324 and 325.
325. Yep.
Yeah. Those were really good because you guys addressed a lot of the questions that people have about, syndications and real estate. I don't know. Like, I see that now, especially in our community, a lot of like what I think are syndications, right? Apartment buildings. Would that be considered a syndication? Right? Yes? No? Are you there?
Yeah, a lot of the syndications are these huge.
I'm asking you a question.
These huge. I got you. Maybe that was me rebooting. A lot of these places are buying up apartment complexes. So. Yeah.
So I see a lot of those, and after listening to those episodes, I'm like, man, maybe we should be investing, in those kinds of things, because there's quite a few. There's 3 in our neighborhood alone that I can tell that are going up right now. And I'm like, man, that's, somebody's seeing the investment somewhere. So
yeah, Ronnie Shalev is a doctor. She's a former ED doctor. Now she's like a real estate mogul, so to speak.
Guru.
Right? And if you want to find out more about what she's doing, if you want to find out more about syndications with her specifically, just check out invest.shawinproperties.com. All you have to do is just click on the show notes if it's too long for you to write down right now. But just check out what she has to offer. I think we're going to end up working with her. So I'm really excited about this because I just, at this point, I like real estate, but I don't like the way in which we have to be involved with so many of these minute decisions. And on top of clinical work, podcasting, being a parent, husband, like that's just a lot of stuff that for me at this point, I'm not very interested in.
You got too many hats on?
Yes, and I'd like to remove that. So
you want to remove a hat?
That's just me being real.
Take your hat off in here.
So let's jump into like the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is basically why we went to San Diego. So we went to San Diego to go speak at the National Residency Matching Program. They had their annual conference, which is called the Transition to Residency. Mm-hmm. And just so people who are listening, they don't know what the NRMP is. If you've ever heard of the match or the resident match, or you've seen social media where they show a whole bunch of different doctors in a room and they're either opening up an envelope or checking their email, and a lot of them are all excited. Some of them may be crying. That's what the match is. So the match is put together by the NRMP, and it allows this algorithm-based computer system to match residents into the specific residencies that they're looking for. And we went there. We gave them a proposal that we wanted to do a fireside chat where we would discuss basically the potential impact of incorporating financial literacy into medical school and residency curricula. Mm-hmm. When you came up to me and you said we should do this at this conference, I was like, they're not going to accept it. What do they want from a bunch of personal finance bloggers or some podcasters or YouTubers? What do they want from us? What do they want to hear from us? That's a completely academic conversation. Why would they want us? And lo and behold, it got accepted.
They accepted it.
So we had to go there and talk, and it was dope. So do you want to take it from here and talk about specifically one of the things that we talked about?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was just shocked. I was shocked too. I didn't think that they would have accepted it because we're two non-academics. You know, when they ask the question like, what institution are you with? And you're like, none. That
I'm
was
with the
shocking.
institution of Darko Media or Darko Equal Access Health.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I still think we got to do another episode on that. It's just like this whole notion of like what academic institution you in, like what set you in. Like, are you Crip or Blood, or are you this or that? It's like, God dang. Like, who cares? If I'm at Harvard or if I'm at, no institution, it doesn't matter. The information is the same. But anyway, I digress. You go ahead.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, it was great. We ended up talking, like you said, about what if medical schools and residencies actually incorporated financial literacy education into their programs? Like, what potential impact could that be? Could that have? And it was amazing because the audience was engaged, like immediately engaged. So obviously this was something that is kind of like a pain point for people.
Well, tell them who the audience was.
Well, the audience was, your residency directors, I think, faculty members. We had a pre-med in there, but we also had, I think, someone from the AAMC who was there, a staff member from the AAMC. So it was just really interesting to see who all was over there. And, the fact that they were just that engaged. But like one of the questions I think that kept coming up, or at least one of the concerns was, well, do you have the time to do it, right? Will you have the time to incorporate financial literacy education into a curriculum?
There was a consistent amount of people who said, I want to do this. I want to incorporate financial literacy into this, but when and where are we supposed to do this? Or is this supposed to be during protected didactic time? Is this supposed to be during a journal club? When do we fit that in? That was a question that you got.
Yeah, that was a major question. But what kills me also was that, so this conference was called Transition to Residency, right? And I looked back at they've had 2 or 3 conferences that you can, see online what the presentations were back then. And there were no presentations, at least that I could see. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me, but there were no presentations that I could see that talked about finances. And one of the things that we talked about during the presentation was the fact that you got pretty much almost everybody who is graduating from medical school comes, with 6-figure debt. They have literally zero income while they're in medical school. And then when they finally get an income, it's a low, relatively low 5-figure income. So, there's a lot to unpack here. And for me, I just don't understand why we have not talked about that part of our careers yet in terms, during our training, right? Like
Easy.
For me, that's a part of our career.
I think a lot of people look at it as this is the cost of doing business, right?
Yeah.
Which means that this is the default. This is dogma. I went through it 20 years before you went through it, so you have to go through that. And I also think that a lot of people are really comfortable with the current system, right? Like if you have to find time with didactics to teach this, it could be very uncomfortable for certain people. It could be really uncomfortable if you aren't attending and you maybe have been designated to speak about personal finance and maybe your finances aren't that great. Or you may be thinking, well, what am I going to teach these new residents about X, Y, and Z? And then sometimes what you end up seeing is that a lot of them will be like, well, I don't know anything about Bitcoin and I don't know anything about this. It's like, well, ain't nobody asking you to talk about Bitcoin.
Right.
It's the whole thing of like, I don't want to adopt a child because I'm not like the greatest dad out there. And it's like, well, you don't have to be the greatest dad out there. You just have to be someone who cares. So same thing with personal finance. Like you don't have to know anything about Bitcoin. That's not what residents want to know about, although their generation is the most likely generation to use that. What they want to know is what can I do with the big pain points in my life, which is student loan debt, right? I'm getting these phone calls while I'm on call. What do I do with my investment? What do I do if I want to go and transition to another place in a different part of the country? Like these are the things that I think that they can address. But I think those two things are what's holding back a lot of progress. So since you're mentioning that, why don't we talk about how you think financial literacy, or how we both think financial literacy can affect the quality of life of residents?
So, one of the first, let me put this in context that, I don't know if people realize that a lot of people coming from medical school, like their first full-time job is actually as a doctor, right? Like you go from college, you go straight from college to med school, then you go straight from med school into residency. And then all of a sudden, like you literally are somebody's doctor, right?
What was your first job?
My first job technically was when I was 10. I was a tutor.
My first job, I was 17, 16 or 17. And I was working at First Fidelity Bank, which not many people know about. I got bought out by Wachovia. Yeah, I got bought out by Wachovia. I did a summer job. But anyway, go ahead. A lot of people, their first job is in their mid-20s with their residents.
A lot of people don't realize that, right? So the question is like, well, when are people learning about personal finances, right? So you're just kind of thrown into this lion's den of, we taught you how to put a stethoscope to people's chests, and you should, from there, you should know how to manage your money as well and your career. And it's like, no. So, my thought about it is that, we talked about this during the presentation, is that if you don't teach people about personal finance, how to manage money, right? Especially in medicine, what you might run into are problems with kind of specialty choice, where people are going to choose to practice, right? All of these things that we know are already issues, right? So we know that there's a dearth of, certain specialties already, depending on the area of the country in which you live. And if people don't know how to manage their money, then oftentimes the solution to something is, if I don't have it, I should get it. Or if I don't have enough of it, I'll just get more of it. So you think that, okay, well, if I don't have a lot of money, or if I'm in a lot of debt, I'll just go into a specialty that I know is going to pay me a lot of money. But even then, when you're getting paid a whole lot of money, doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to manage it. It just means you got a lot more money that you don't know how to manage. So, we talked about, if there was a way to be able to kind of hone in to people what they need to do during their residency training and their medical school training, like they might actually make better decisions as to either what specialty they're going to, choose, or, whatever communities they're going to live in, and I think I think that resonated with a lot of people.
What, the thing that I thought was really fascinating was, or still to this day, is the amount of money that we just continue to put into education because you feel like, or into your education or into your training, mainly because you already put in a significant amount of money in, right? Like once you've already started the process of taking loans out for medical school or paying for medical school, you've put yourself down this path of whatever else expense that needs to be done. Like there is no cheaper alternative. Like I have to do A, I have to do B, I have to do C. What I'm specifically talking about is we highlighted the match, right? Specifically with when ERAS applications go out, why, like there's a point where the studies are showing, specifically in pediatrics, that if you apply to a certain amount of programs with a certain type of step one score, that this is statistically the amount of schools that you should be applying to or residencies that you should be applying to.
Yeah.
If you apply to more than that, the likelihood of it increasing your chances of getting into one residency does not improve.
Right.
If you have a certain another score that's lower than that, then you should probably be applying to a little bit more. And then if you have another lower score, then you probably should be applying to more. But that is something that is really interesting. Let's jump into that. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, like what was crazy was the number, right? Because people...
Did I represent it right? Did I talk about it right? Did I say it right?
You talked about it right. Yeah, but
All
I
right.
think it's going to be interesting for people to know what that number is, right? So specifically for pediatric residents, right? If you got the highest score, they basically said if you applied to more than 13 programs, you literally had no better chance of getting into a residency program. Right. And I'm sitting there thinking like 13, like who applies to 13 programs? Right. For me, I don't think a lot of people apply to 13 programs or less. Right. I think people tend to apply to way more programs. At least that's my experience. I applied to,
programs?
I think, 40, I think about 40 programs. How many did you apply to?
I can't remember, but it was a lot.
It was more than 13.
Don't forget,
You also,
I also
were not
applied.
applying pediatrics, but.
Well, don't forget, when I was applying, I did the DO match first.
Oh, yeah. That's when the match was separated. Yeah.
Yep. I did the DO match first. Found out several weeks before that all of the programs that I was applying to decided to fill their programs outside of the match. And then I luckily just happened to, keep my options open with the MD match. And then so that was two set of expenses for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I just thought it was crazy because so we showed that slide, right? It was like, oh, well, if you got even just the highest score, right? But if you got the lowest score, like the number then turned to like 22 programs. So it's not that much more, right? It's not even 10 more programs. And you had no better chance of getting into a pediatric residency if you applied to even 23 programs, right? But then the next slide was really interesting because people were like, yeah, this is more like it. And that's when we showed per applicant on average how many applications people submit. And it was like no less than about 70 applications from 2021, 2022, was it? Or whatever it was. The last two cycles was like no less than 70 and up to like 117 programs. One person is applying to 117 programs potentially. And that's crazy. And for me, I'm like, wait, but these are fourth year medical students. They have a zero income.
Well, talk about the pricing details so that they can understand the implications of that.
And then the other part of it was like, when you buy in bulk, shouldn't the price go down? So apparently with ERAS, the more you buy, the more programs you apply to, basically, the price is actually going up. It was just crazy.
So start from the beginning. So if you when you tell them how it is so that they know the numbers.
So like something like if you apply to like 10 programs, it's like $99. But by the time the first 10 total $99, right? So the first 10 is like $99. So $9.90 per application basically, right? But then as you go higher and higher,
is it like wait, if you spend $99, that gets you to apply to 10 programs, right? Or is it $99 for every program?
Oh, was it per program? Hold on.
I think it's $99.
I might be a lie. I'm correct. I'm correct. Why you messing me up here, boy? Let me check. I'm gonna look at the presentation myself. It's right here.
I think it's $99
up to
gets
$10.
you 10.
Nope. Up to $10 is $99. If you apply to 11 to 20 is $19.
Hold on. Slow down. We're confusing people. Slow down. We gotta remember, people are listening. So if you spend $99, you'll get 10 schools, right?
Yeah.
That's not what you're saying. You're saying $10 gets you $99. So I just wanted to clarify.
Wait, $10 gets you $99?
Yes, that is what you said.
I didn't say $10 gets you $99.
Alfred.
Up to $10 is $99.
Thank you. So listen.
If you apply to 10 programs, it was $99. That's what I said.
That is not what you said. You said $10 gets you. But anyway, we digress. So if the first $99 that you spend will get you, your application will go out to 10 programs.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Amicably. Yes. Let's move on amicably. Thank you.
I'm going to take that as disrespect. So anyway, $99 will get you 10 programs.
We already established that. Move on. Come on. Go on. We moved on past that. Let's go.
But as you go up in the number of applications that you apply to, right, the amount per application actually goes up. So by the time you get to like 31 plus programs, it's $26 each. So, you're buying in bulk, but the price is not going down, right? And so it's just kind of like, all right, for people who literally are making zero income because they're living on loans, so they're actually in the negative, right? Their net worth is negative at this point. They're actually spending a whole lot of money, especially when you're talking about people applying to 70, 100, 117 programs with a diminishing return.
Loans. Some people took loans to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. People took loans. Additional loans to apply to residency. And then not to mention, this year and well, maybe not this year, but last year and the year before, there was a whole virtual, interviews. But as things get back to normal, when you ask people like, if they offer you virtual versus in person, especially for programs that you want to really be accepted to, they're going to pick going in person because they know that that personal touch, means something. So that's going to be even extra money that they have to spend.
Hotel, flights,
exactly.
Rental car,
potentially, dinner. Right. Something. So, I think we really need to talk to people about the implications of spending, money in a certain way, or just about how money works, and getting a good return for your investment. And I guess people would say like, well, if I get into a residency program, it was a good investment, but it's like, but if you had applied to like 13, you could have had more money in your pocket and still had a good investment.
The stats that we found for pediatrics, do they do that for other specialties where there's like this graph that shows the diminishing rate of return for all the other specialties and residencies? Because that'd be really interesting, because if people knew that, then maybe they could say, okay, well, me applying to 70 programs is not realistic. If they knew the odds in front of them, I think that's how it goes.
Yeah. So,
but then again, you tell lottery players that the likelihood of them winning is really against them, and they still play. So
that's true.
It's odds, it's money. My thing is why is it so hard to get into residency? Also, That's the other thing. Why is it so hard to get to residency? You know me already. I'm just like, you've already passed like licensing examinations. At this point, when you're applying to a residency, likely you've already passed step 1, likely you've already passed step 2, and then you're doing well according to your school, right? Because they're submitting some type of dean's letter on your behalf. Like, why is it so hard? Like, why do you have to apply to 70 something programs to get into one program? And that to me is a major issue that, you know, has financial implications. And to me, that's the frustrating part right there.
Yeah. But, you know, going back to the question or the concern, you know, of people, well, you know, when are we going to have the time? You know, how can we do this? You know, are people even interested? Remember, one of the residency program directors was saying like, well, you know, we did something like this with our residents, and I don't really think that, you know, that it took or that they were really interested. And some of what we presented was, you know, that there are states, for example, some of you probably live in states where financial literacy education in high school is actually mandatory. So that's what it is for us in Jersey. By the time our kids get to high school, if we're still in Jersey, there's a mandate to teach financial education. And so there are several states like that. But, you know, I guess there's data out there to show that high schoolers who got education in finances, when they became college students, they had less in credit card debt, and they paid their credit cards more on time than people who did not get that education. And then, so that one shows that there is some sort of an impact. But then there were 2 other studies. One that was with FSU, Florida State University, right? Was it Florida State University?
Yeah, FSU.
College of Medicine.
Or FSU hyphen.
Yeah.
College of Medicine.
College of Medicine. And they offer financial literacy as an elective. And apparently as of January 2019, it was the most popular elective taken in the school.
The streets are talking. The streets is talking, yo.
Like, people are interested and they want to know, right? And then there was that dermatology program also. Now, so the dermatology program was just a little bit different because here we're talking about personal finances, but, you know, a physician's personal finances is very much tied to billing, right? Coding or whatever, right? Basically where we get our money. And so there was this dermatology program where they basically taught the residents how to code. And once they taught them how to code, they saw a drastic improvement in their coding and, you know, in the amount that they were able to get in billing. So, you know, for me, I'm like, this is essential. Like, this should be a requisite, you know, for medical schools and residency programs.
There's time to do it. I think that a lot of programs just have to be able to say, I think we're so used to, if I do A, then B will happen. Sometimes you just have to give it time to grow. And you have to realize that the investment that you make in year 1 may not show up until year 5, when residents are maybe graduating from medical school or maybe leaving residency. And then it's time to do a follow-up and find out where they're at. So I agree with you. Obviously, we agree. We did this presentation together, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting for us to get the buy-in immediately from these residency programs and other people who were in the audience. Like, out of as soon as your second slide was done, they were just like, "Oh, yeah, definitely, no doubt." And I thought it was going to be a lot of like snobbish folks who said that you shouldn't be worried about money anyway. You went into medicine, you know, for noble reasons,
altruistic reasons. Yeah, but you know, it's like we always say. You know, it's one thing to go into medicine for the money, but nobody goes into medicine to be broke. You know, and that's the bottom line. Nobody should be going into medicine to be broke, and I don't think anybody does. So, you know, yeah, you can teach us our crafts. But at the same time, I think it's worth it to teach us how to be able to, how to be able to be knowledgeable, right? How to be knowledgeable about something that is so much going to impact our careers, our personal careers, and then the profession as a whole. Because this, I mean, We all talking about burnout. We talking about physician shortages. We talking about rural areas. I'm like, if people don't think that this is all related, then you living under a rock.
The Rock, or a rock?
The Rock.
I know you want to
smell
live
what
under
the
rock.
rock is cooking.
Do you smell what the Rock is injecting?
Pow.
Oh, let me just move on to something else. Oh, burn.
Anyway.
And on that note, y'all, that is this episode of Docs Outside the Box. Hey, guys, for those who are listening, make sure you check out the YouTube version of this because we have some graphics. You also can see the video of me working out right next to the Tesla. And we'll start dripping out some videos from the locumstory.com video series that we're doing with them. So check out our YouTube selection. Remember, that is youtube.com/. Are we still Dr. Nii? Dr. Nii.
Yeah, we still are. Yeah, YouTube is.
But all you got to do is
yeah.
all you got to do is put in Docs Outside the Box, and you'll find us. And just make sure you subscribe. And we appreciate y'all. For everybody who listens through the podcast, the audio section, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And for the new listeners, hey, what's up? What's good? Where y'all been? We are just two doctors from immigrant backgrounds who are talking about money, medicine, as well as pop culture. So welcome to the show. We hope you guys subscribe on your favorite podcast app, which is Apple Podcasts, or how you're listening to this episode or listening to your favorite podcast. That's where you're going to find us. So, Dr. Renee, any parting words before we bounce?
Yo, man. Start teaching us about money in med school and residency. That's it.
And there it is. All right, y'all. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of Docs Outside the Box.
Bye.
Peace.